Greetings and welcome to the Place to Be Oshkosh. This is the August edition of our show. And I know everyone's asking themselves, where did the summer go? It seems like we just were celebrating the 4th of July with the wonderful parade downtown, and now it's August. But thank you for joining us for the Place to Be show. We're glad that you could be here. I always have to thank our sponsors who make this show possible. And beginning with COTS, COTS Transitional Programming is a huge sponsor and support of my program. Also Karen and the wonderful staff at the Oshkosh Herald. If you want to know what's going on in our community, just pick up a copy of the Herald. And then also our set design by Brian at UBloom. And I tell you, this is the year of coluses and succulents. And so our table has succulents on it today because the weird weather that we've had all summer. No rain, lots of rain, dry. Coluses loved it and so did succulents. So I invite you to go down to Brian at UBloom. His garden center is wonderful. His gift shop is really wonderful and his prices are really great too. Where can you see us? You can see us on Spectrum. Our crew is great. It's right on the screen for you. Spectrum Channel 2, Oshkosh Media. You can go to Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Also, just go to YouTube and put in Oshkosh Media or the show, and they all will show up for you. I wanted to start with some updates before we get to our second segment. We are expanding at Oshkosh COTS Men's. We started out a year ago, a little over a year ago, with 10 rooms on the first floor, and now we're adding 10 more rooms on the second floor. But it does take work and time and energy. And so at this point, we have 3 more rooms left. So we have 17 rooms available, 3 left, thanks to Hoffmasters, the United Way Day of Caring, and Amcor, who came to help paint the rooms and prep them for us. So if any groups are out there willing to paint, that is not my forte. I can buy the paint and show you what to do, but I will not be painting or cutting in and all that stuff. But we have 3 rooms left, and then we'll have our 20 rooms. And talking to our guests before, the need is there. The need is there for us. It's there for day by day. So if you're interested in any more information on volunteering for COTS, my information's on the screen, or you can contact me afterwards. Also wanted to say that we're very happy for all the donations we get. We just started using the large sign outside. I have no idea why we didn't use it before. We put something as a need, and people feel the need. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Stay tuned. We'll be back for our second segment of our August edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh. Hi, welcome back. It's the second segment of our edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh. I have 2 wonderful guests, known them for a while, known some longer than others. That doesn't mean we're old. It just means we've known each other, we worked together before. So this is a critical staff here at Day by Day Warming Shelter. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and your title and how long you've been there. We'll start with Molly.
Okay, I am Molly Yatzel-Woods, and I'm the executive director with Day by Day. We're now Day by Day Shelter and no longer warming because we're a full year shelter instead of just a warming shelter. I have been there since June of 2020.
I'm Denise Holtz, Day by Day program director, and I've been there about 5 years now.
5 years. Well, good for you too. And you love your job?
I love it. I don't know what else I would do. Yeah.
See, and
she was born to do her job.
But you know, I always can say that, because Molly's been a guest before, I always can say that you can tell on people's faces that they love their job, because you're smiling.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I always said that too when COVID hit. You could still see people smile through their eyes. And I can tell that you guys like your job. So let's talk about it, because you have a brand new building. So tell me about the transition from St. Peter's, the gym basement, which was very gracious
Yeah,
to you guys
absolutely.
to now this wonderful brand new building on CB.
Yeah, so a little history there. 12, well, probably 13 years ago now, about 60 to 65 community members got together to talk about a homelessness crisis, or that more and more people were becoming homeless in Oshkosh. So as you and I just talked about, those numbers have tripled in the last 3 years.
Yep.
So again, 13 years ago, there started to be kind of this discussion around, what are we going to do about homelessness in Oshkosh? And so the group formed and started having discussions. And then, yes, Most Blessed Sacrament, or the old St. Peter's site, stepped up and said that we could utilize a homeless shelter in the basement of their church. And so the city issued what was then now the day-by-day warming shelter, got its 501c3 or nonprofit status, and became a 6-month temporary shelter to be used for the winter. And so that 6-month temporary use permit was gifted in September or October of 2011. And so it wasn't ever meant to be the permanent site of Day by Day.
Okay.
It's just that every year, due to circumstances and us not having our own site and all of those things, the city continued to re-gift that 6-month temporary use permit. So we were only able to be open from October 15th to April 15th because of obviously all of those guidelines and requirements and things. The shelter wasn't ADA accessible. We struggled with bathroom situations, things like that, and so it really was a temporary fix for this long-term problem, as we know. So in, I believe, 2015 and 2018, that same group of people, kind of those initial, go-getters, board members, things like that, tried to move this project forward both of those times, and it didn't go. So in 2020, it was really the development of our new board and then our new team and things like that, that the goal of that group for the last 3 years was to open this new Day by Day.
So do you think that was the difference this time? Because I know with the other directors that there have been, they've talked about it and they tried it, but it was different this time. You had the support and you had the money and you did
those
it.
two things were the biggest factors.
Okay.
The support and the money, for sure. And so that's always helpful.
And also maybe a little of you.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, which I'm thinking though, because you're known in our community, you're a go-getter, and maybe that, and I'm not saying maybe, I know it did, because reading Facebook and reading the posts and everything, that was a big influencer for that too, which I thought, because you brought Day by Day out into the world so people would know about it and what you guys do.
Well, I had a job, right? And so
Yep. And you did it well. Yes, and you do have a great team, because I've worked with members of the team before, and it was a great program, but it's so much better now. So tell us about the new building.
The new building is amazing, and yes, going back to the team, our team is amazing. As you know, John, this is not an easy job. No. These are tough jobs, and to keep people in this job and wanting to do this job, I'm pretty confident that I know they can make a lot more money and get, better benefits and whatever somewhere else, but they choose to come to work every day because they love what Day by Day does. And so that's extremely fortunate for us. But yeah, there's a picture of our ribbon cutting, which was a really exciting moment, particularly for some of those people standing in the picture. I will say that Nancy Boehm had been a part of, she's a little bit behind me, she had been part of this workforce since the very beginning, 2011. So many tears were shed by those individuals who had really been a part of this for far longer than, Denise and I just carry out what they've requested at this point, right? We now have 50 beds. I think one of the coolest things about our new shelter is those beds. They're raised off the ground. We used to have to provide mats on a floor, and if you've ever had a conversation where you're standing up and you're looking at somebody on the floor, it's not very dignifying.
Right.
So these beds allow an opportunity. They're very dorm-like. They make me feel like I'm back in the dorms, which I love the dorms. So they're just awesome. They
And they're
provide
storage.
personal space, yes, at the foot of the bed and then underneath the bed, which is awesome. So I feel like that just provides so much. This is a picture of the inside of our kitchen looking out into the dining room. So I don't know if anybody remembers, but the old St. Peter's site, really, we didn't have a functional kitchen. And again, we're so appreciative of what we did have there. It's just, in order to feed the 50 people that we have every night, we were not able to do it there. This is still a warming kitchen, so we do still ask that people bring food in that's already prepared. We can warm it up. There's also like a hot box. So I did pizzas the other night, and I kept the pizzas in the hot box, and that's really convenient.
So no cooking?
No cooking can be done in the kitchen.
Okay.
Warming up, we can warm up things in the kitchen, yes.
It looks very state-of-the-art.
There's a steam table in there now, so meal teams can warm up their meals that way too.
A little more efficient than bringing all the crock pots and all that.
Yes, yes, exactly. For those who remembered, we had some pretty old washers and dryers.
In a little room.
Yes.
I remember that.
And I just actually put some statistics out. We do over 1,400 loads of laundry per month. So that was really difficult to do in that little laundry room with really not great washers and dryers. So Alliance Laundry actually gifted us these washer and dryers, and they're the industrial size. So we do everybody's bedding each night. We do, but every night we're running at least one row of beds, their bedding.
Okay.
We do all personal laundry for our guests as well.
And is that staff and volunteers working together to do all the laundry?
Correct.
Yep.
Was that in your job description? It's one of those things as
the other
there
day.
we go.
Yes.
That is cool.
We have a lounge area there that people can sit and watch TV. We have like a game area just to the left of that, and so we have people play games, do puzzles, computers, like very similar to the library computer usage. We have that just to the left of that as well. And then we have 7 showers, so that's extremely cool for us. This is our conference room. We never had a room or a space that we could hold meetings. Our staff works, our case managers, like Denise's team, work with our guests in this room, and they can call, their physicians or their case managers from other agencies and stuff. And we just never had a space to do that. Denise and her team, and then our administrative assistant and our operations director and Denise's facility dog all worked in the same small office that was about half the size of this room. So having space for our staff to go and with guests has been a really big help.
So you talked about case managers. When do you do that?
That's mainly done during the day.
That is. So do you call the guests in?
So we have a system where the guests can tell the advocates in the evening if they'd like an appointment with our social worker or outreach specialist.
So that's what you're doing during the day then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you can't. I kept imagining that you were doing this at night when you're serving food, when everything is going on, and you need the personal time, you need the one-on-one.
Yeah. In the beginning, we did, when we started the resource coordination, it was in the evening, but we just make so much more progress, of course, with guests during the day when places are open.
Which
other
does make sense, and you
agencies.
have access to the phone and everything too. That makes
When
perfect
Denise
sense.
and I just left today, everybody was in an appointment. So all of those who do our appointments, so we have the Health and Human Service Coordinator and a social worker, and they have appointments all day long.
So let's talk about your team. So were they part of the original team, a social worker and the health and?
That all came about, so Denise became program director in fall of 2020, or right shortly after I started. I think we wrote her job description, I think my first board meeting or something like that very quickly. And then her program has completely evolved, and I'll let her talk about that. But she has 2 people who work under her in programming, a Health and Human Service Coordinator who actually came from Aurora. It used to be a case manager or care coordinator.
Oh.
And then Maddie is our social worker. She graduated with her master's of social work, I think, just shortly after I started as well. And so we added her. But between the two of them, they are quite busy. And then Denise
They're always
oversees
busy.
the whole programming model, which she can talk about.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been really busy. So like Molly said, I oversee the programming and do the Rent Smart classes, things like that, but they handle our one-on-ones.
So do you teach Rent Smart?
Yep, we teach Rent Smart classes.
How do you, who do you pick to take the class? Somebody that's
Yes.
really eligible to do it, or is it?
We just revamped part of our programming. So we used to just operate off our gateways to goals from
Okay.
basic needs, housing, financial,
Right.
down the line. But now we have a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Folks apply for those beds, and they
Okay.
have the same bed each night for 30, 60, 90 days. And we have 35 of those beds available. So as long as they're not being removed from shelter and they're
Okay.
hitting certain program milestones each month, they'll have the same bed. And Rent Smart is obligated then for them
is
in
part
that
of the-
first month, that they attend the
Is
classes.
it 2 sessions?
2 sessions about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when do they do that? If they're working during the day, or?
We keep it really flexible, so I offer it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then if folks need it in the evenings, then we'll kind of readjust from there or make extra accommodations.
Oh, because we do, it's programming. We do
Yeah.
the same thing. I just can't find the time to be trained to do
Yeah,
the Rent Smart. So we
yeah.
have somebody from the tech who comes in and does it. But, that's a big obligation. A 2-hour class, 2 of them. That's really good. That's something I didn't know. That's really good to do.
Yeah, yep, so we do that, but yeah, Maddie and Laura are incredibly busy, so when guests need help with anything outside of the health realm, that would be Maddie, so everything from getting IDs, setting up different appointments outside of health things, but then Laura can help plan their steps for after they move out of shelter, or get their connected with a care team if they need it while they're in
Okay.
shelter, and all their health-related issues.
That is a huge job. I mean, speaking from experience, that is a huge job to do with even a smaller group of people to case manage and to make sure everything's going.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
a
gosh.
major undertaking we're finding. Yeah, we're very busy.
Well, good for you guys. Then that's just good to know that those resources are there, and people need to make the commitment to do it. Our executive director Cindy always says, "John, if you're working harder than the client, there's a problem."
Yeah.
And I can see that, and you can see that too. With all the time you're putting into something, you want the same time given from the client.
Yeah,
So.
and we've had a lot of our folks, of course, some of them have weeded themselves out of the program, but a lot of them are really eager to stay on top of it and keep their
Good.
meetings. They're asking, like, I notice I have to do this. Like, when is this going to be offered? I know I need to get it done. We're like, just hang on, because that starts next month, So it's people are eager about it. So it's been going pretty good.
So that's part of the team. Who else do you have on your team then?
So, as far as our admin team, we also have an operations director, Carl Bulow.
Yep.
He started with us in January. And then our office manager and volunteer manager, her name is Michelle. And she also started with us in January. So those are the 5 people that report to me. Everyone else on the team then reports to either Denise or Carl.
Oh, okay.
So we have about 22 staff members altogether. So 17 who are in the shelter. So their job is shelter related, things such as, whether it be that advocate time period. We have some lead. We have an assistant operations person. And everyone is anywhere from 8 hours a month to 30 to 34 hours a
Okay.
week. So
And are a lot of these college students? Or
not so much anymore.
Not anymore, because it used to be.
It used to be when it was that 6-month shelter.
Yes.
It was a really easy gig for college students, right?
Okay.
Particularly those going into health and
Right.
human services. But now with it being a full-time shelter, people.
Our staff's a lot more diversified.
Yes.
Age
Wow.
ranges.
So that's a blessing for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been very nice. And then our all of our guests, can find maybe someone to connect with then, right?
That's a good point. And I can see though you've been there 3 over 5, so there's continuity there when you bring the newer people in, that you know the background and you can explain how things are done. Wow, I'm very impressed, very much so. Let's talk funding.
Oh.
How was the shelter funded?
So we did start our campaign for the new building. It was called Building Hope, and we started that in July of last year. So the shovel went into the ground on around June 30th of last year, and then our campaign went live, right? Again, like you said, we were blessed at that time to have the support and the funding that we needed. So we set out to raise $5.5 million to not only build the building, but to help us sustain some operating costs and then future sustainability. And so, to date, we're very close to that. So, I don't know of any campaign that is right, $5.5 million in 1 year was no easy task by any means, but our community really stepped up. We did receive the money that was given by Governor Evers and his team for the neighborhood improvement plan grant. That was a $10.3 million, $10.5 million grant given to Winnebago County, and 5 agencies, including Day by Day, received money from that grant. So, of course, that was extremely helpful, and like you said, great timing. So that was a bricks and mortar grant. So those projects had to be shovel ready. Yes, and so we all had to prove that those steps were already being taken and that these projects were ready to go. So the state has visited us twice since opening, and they're very pleased with everything that we're doing. And we are the first purpose-built shelter in the state of Wisconsin. And purpose-built meaning that we are the first homeless shelter in the state of Wisconsin that is not utilizing old church space, old YMCA space, things like that. Right. And so when you are in our facility, I talk about this all the time, just really think about things that are purpose-built. And we, you saw the pictures, so how we were able to have enough space for 50 beds to be raised off the ground, how we were able to create a laundry room that could accommodate 1,400 loads of laundry. Instead
of always trying to adapt to old plumbing, to old electrical. Correct.
And so, the kitchen, the spaces were all created for, much of what Denise does during the day, but then also transition to that nightly emergency shelter.
Okay. We have a quiet room now for our guests, so if someone's experiencing a mental health issue or a crisis, they can go in there and de-escalate maybe themselves, have a little time alone to balance.
That's a really good idea, because you're bringing people in all together for the supper, and then you have men and women, and that's a really good idea, because mental health is a big part of homelessness, and so to have that place to decompress,
we estimate, Carl, our operations director, estimates that quiet room in the first 2 months we were open saved about 24 OPD calls, because we had a place for people to just go and breathe. I mean, even when people were waiting today for appointments, I put them in the quiet room and I'm like, enjoy, breathe, take a breath, enjoy some air conditioning, just sit in there and just breathe. It's our 2 counselors from Collaborative Wellness decorated the room with a grant we received from the Women's Fund, which was also very neat.
It's our best room in the
I wish I would. It is the best room. I wish I would have a picture, but it's just gorgeous. It's just it is calming for sure.
Does staff use it? Because
we should.
I had a meeting in there today.
Did you? Was it good?
I'm also listening to you talk, about decompressing and that. It's got to be hard on the staff. I understand from my experience on the staff itself, on the situations that you come across that nobody would ever believe that you do, and you're trying to help people, that you need a place, you need someone to talk to, you need a place to decompress also. So, yeah, it's not easy, but like you said, people are made for this, for the job, for the task.
Yeah, and it's not a job that you ever check out of, right?
No.
You never go home and not think about everything that's going on at the shelter. So
you're right. And do you ever do this? Because I do this, and it's like sometimes I don't want to leave, or I want to come in early because I think I'm going to miss something. Either miss a client sharing something or a guest sharing something or something. And that really does tell you that you love your job, and it's a valuable job when you have that feeling and that closeness with the people that are there.
For sure.
And let's talk silos. There are no silos. You guys work together.
Yes.
You know, some people have silos up and they're very protective of their program, of what they do. But from my own personal experience with Day by Day and also with the Oshkosh Kids Foundation, there were no silos. Everybody's willing to work together to help everybody, and I think that's really cool.
We need community partners, right? So when we look at this homelessness issue in Oshkosh, it's this massive pie right now, right? Day by Day is only a piece of the pie. COTS is only a piece of the pie. So in order to have continuity within that pie, or even just trying to solve a problem that we're never going to solve, right? We're never going to solve it, but we're going to help it to the best of our ability for what our piece is. We have to work together, because otherwise we'd be in it alone, and it's too big.
It is. And I like when we took the show on the road and we had reps from all the agencies there explaining what they did, so our community knows what they did, that we're not duplicating services. Like, we work with you guys, so when you have somebody who you think is ready for the COTS program, they can come over to the program. And I think the more the community knows about what we all do, the more support. And I think you can see the support. The support that you guys get and the support that we get to do what we're trying to do for our community.
Right, absolutely.
The time is winding down. What do you want to? We have to come again, because there's so much more to talk about. What do you want to say?
I'm going to have Denise talk about Phoenix. That's our newest staff member.
Oh, okay. I saw on the website.
Yeah, our facility dog. We officially took him over just a few weeks ago. Signed all his papers. He passed all of his tests. So it's been really great at the shelter. He's amazing with our guests, and he's such a joy for them. Like, he comes with all this energy and excitement, and it just turns them up even more.
Does he stay right there then?
He stays with Denise.
Oh, he does.
Denise is his handler. But I will tell you, our guests love him. Just even today, like the guests coming in for appointments, but the days that he is not there, like if Denise has other things going on, it's a downer for our team.
Oh, no.
We're all like, oh, this is so sad when Phoenix isn't here, because it's a home. Day by Day is a home for hundreds of people. And whether, we want to accept that or like that or not, right? It's a home.
Right.
And so just like any home, when you walk in and you feel greeted by a dog or by a spouse or a family member or whatever, you feel happy. And so he's the same. He provides, and so from a staffing standpoint too, we spend long hours at our jobs. And so when he's in your office and he's snoring away, it is very relaxing.
See?
It's that home, and it's that homey feeling.
And that the pet too, I'll have to say this fast, the pet too can break the ice with people who maybe don't want to talk. But we have to have you guys back, because there's a lot more to talk about, and the time is winding down. So I want to thank Molly and Denise for being here. We will have you back to talk more about.
We'll bring Phoenix.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yes. My ratings will go up for the show.
Right.
But I want to thank everybody for staying tuned and watching our August edition of The Place to Be Oshkosh. If you want to know more about Day by Day or COTS, the information is at the end of our program here. But thank you all very, very much. We wish you a great summer. It's going fast, so enjoy every moment of it. There it is. The crew is great, so there's the information on the Day by Day shelter. Thank you all very much, and have a great summer.